Und jetzt machen wir weiter hier auf der Bühne, live auf der Bühne, und zwar mit Sander Rotmensen, Director of Industrial Wireless Communications bei Siemens. Und ja, er ist insofern bei Siemens für Industrial 5G, für Industrial Wireless LAN, Industrial Routers und die Siemens Management Plattform für Remote Access. Entweder Deutsch oder Englisch, aber so gemischt ist schwierig. Also for Remote Access zuständig. Und sein Thema ist das Thema 5G. Genauer gesagt, why is 5G important for the industry? Und er wird seinen Vortrag auf Englisch halten. Und dann freue ich mich und übergebe ihm die Bühne. Bitte schön.
Okay, danke. So, thank you. So, let's switch to English. I was contemplating on Dutch a little bit, but votes were down, so yeah. We'll have to see. So 5G. So wow, who has heard of 5G before? Only 5 people. 6G? That's even 6 people. Okay, so let's see how this goes. Let's see how this is after the slides. Some topics here on the screen: resource scarcity, demographic change. Means flexible production and workforce support. We've heard that all before, but just look at how this works in real life. I ordered my car in June. I received it 4 weeks ago. Unfortunately, it was June 2021. Original delivery date December, then January, then in March they called me it's coming in 2 weeks. And then something happened a little bit east of us, and then they called me, yeah, your car is almost done, but we are missing a cable. And it's actually the whole cable package of the whole car. So your lights won't be working, your safety solutions won't be working. So we really can't work with this car. So what does this have to do with flexible production? We had every part in-house except for one component. So all of a sudden they need to store this somewhere. They need to be flexible. They need to react instantaneously. And they needed to wait till they had that one last part to complete my car. Same thing with my house. When we're starting to build a house this month. I mean, probably best decision of all times, building a house in this time. Yeah, we decided that last year, and they told us it's going to take 6 months. Well, we were negotiating with potential companies to build a house with. And then they told me, a month before we were making the decision with whom we were going to build, one was up to 12 months, one said we can only guarantee 1.5 years at the moment. So we went for one who said 10 months. They say now they can do it in 8, so we will see. So maybe next year here, I have my house key with me. We will see, but it's a very challenging time for all of us, and we need to be flexible. So I don't know when I'm gonna move. I need to tell my 7-year-old girl, so we're not sure if your 8th birthday is gonna be in the new house, which she was looking forward to. We're not sure you get your new room for your birthday next year, August. We have to see. And we all need to be flexible when things happening. And this is also what we need to do in industry. We need to be really flexible for everything which is thrown at us, which is way more as we could have ever imagined 3 years ago. So what does this have to do with 5G? So with 5G we can be flexible, or maybe we need to say with wireless or next generation wireless technologies we can be really, really flexible. I can move machines around, so now all of a sudden one part is missing and I'm not building the car from Sander anymore, I'm now building the car from Jack. So I need to find other parts to make Jack's car, which is maybe a different color, so we need different doors, I need a different carrossery, and I need a different paint. But they still be able to produce because they have the workforce there. So they need to make sure they're entertained. And this can be done while you use mobile robots, because they're flexible, they can do whatever you want, they don't have breaks, they don't stop, they don't watch YouTube movies in the break. So this is where wireless technologies focus on real time and reliability come into the place, because I can't have a robot stopping on me just because it's running out of reception, like we all probably have seen when we are traveling by train or by car. I mean, how many people were on a call this morning or yesterday when they drove here and the phone call dropped? I had it 5 times. So quite annoying. This is German every day. So this is not the reason why I moved to Germany a couple of years ago. But also we use this technology to stay safe and secure. with functional safety. Because when I want to do an emergency stop, decades ago, everything was hardwired. I cut the connection, everything stopped instantaneously. But now I have a mobile robot driving around while people work. I need to be able to stop it. So if you compare it with a vacuum cleaner, I could pull the plug and it stops. But those cables have a certain length, and if you have a couple of those vacuum cleaners automatically driving around, they probably are going to be tangled and your house isn't clean at the end. The same works, this is the same at the factory floor. So you want to do this wirelessly because you don't want to untangle them every evening. And also augmented workforce. So maybe we all of a sudden have the issue where you can't travel. I mean, we're now all familiar with that. We have one colleague not being here today. I fill in for her this afternoon. But you need to be flexible. You need to react to that. And an augmented workforce, if you talk about key experts, maybe you have a technician on the other side of the world, in Brazil, they have 5G spectrum as well. Someone is working on a machine and he's looking at it and doesn't know what's actually going on, needs to figure this one out, and he says, I need a key expert. Takes a tablet or a phone and says, hey, Paul, you have some time because I'm stuck here. And you're the key expert on this topic. Let's just look through my camera, so through my eyes to what I see, and tell me what I need to do on the machine to make it run again. Augmented reality. And this only works when we have good connectivity. And good connectivity means at the moment next generation wireless technologies, such as Wi-Fi 6, but also 5G. So let's focus on 5G. What does it exactly do and what can it do? So if we look at this triangle, and I always joke there is no 5G presentation without a triangle in there. Still true, since 2019, I would say. There is 3 cornerstones: enhanced mobile broadband, massive machine type communications, and ultra reliable low latency communications. So the one on the top, enhanced mobile broadband, I love when I'm traveling. I mean, hotel Wi-Fi is very spotty every once in a while. We all experience that. But if you're in the city, you probably have a decent mobile connection. So I'd love to call with my family, my 7-year-old, my wife as well. I'm not sure if she is listening. But in a factory, that really doesn't help me because I don't have a lot of data to communicate in most of the use cases. But I might have a lot of sensors I want to connect with, massive machine type communications. When I have massive machine type communication, I want to connect to many devices at the same time or in a certain area. Process automation, for example, massive wireless sensor networks. Awesome. 1 million devices per square kilometer. Now, call me first when you have such a large scale project. But let's reduce that a little bit. Because if we talk about something we can envision, a square meter, it's only one device. And so then this becomes a reliable number. You have 100 square meter, you talk about 100 connected devices. Most exciting, however, is ultra-reliable low latency communication. With ultra-reliable low latency communication, we talk about sub-10 milliseconds communication with a reliability of 99.999%. That means I guarantee 99.999% of the time that I can transfer a packet through the 5G network with a latency of 10 milliseconds and lower. That's quite an achievement, and that's the safety use case we talked about before. So looking at this, 5G does it all. High bandwidth, low latency, high reliability, and almost an unlimited number of devices. Right? But if we look at the left side and the right side, we have a public profile and an industrial profile. Because I cannot do everything at the same time. I need to point my network in the direction I need it most. So when we look at a factory, what is most important? Worker safety, reliability, and latency. So that is that right lower corner. That means I cannot have the highest possible bandwidth. I need to think about what I want to do with my network, which is my most mission critical scenario in my network. So that's why I point my network in the right way. And this cannot be done with every type of network. So the telco provider network, the ones we use nowadays when we use our cell phones, is focused on high bandwidths because they want to achieve that you have run through your data before the end of the month, so you need to buy a new data package. This doesn't work the way with a robot. First of all, he can't make the call to say, hey, I want 5 gigs more this month. So this is something we really need to focus on. We need to make sure we point the network in the right direction, and this is where private networks come into the game. And for private networks, I need to have private frequency bands because I want to self-manage my network, because I need to guarantee the flexibility in the production, but also need to guarantee that the production is running at every given moment of in time. Therefore, I need qualified personnel on site which understand OT, but also understand enough from IT to make sure this network keeps running and is maintained well enough. Then we talk about quality of service. This is the topic where I said you need to point the network in the right way. And one aspect which is very interesting as well is security. 5G is already very secure, more secure as its predecessors. We have SIMs, we have different profiles, we have encryptions which we have never seen before in such a network. But by keeping my data private in my own network, completely detached from the rest of the world, I have a benefit. I'm secured because I know where my where my entry is, and I can limit people accessing this. But to do private networks, I need private spectrum. And here in Germany, we've talked about that for years, and that's all clear. We have 100 megahertz in C-band, 3.7 to 3.8 gigahertz. I've just seen one of my radio units hanging there, by the way. So we can set up private networks here, and we're actually standing here probably on the location in Germany where the largest amount of space is covered by 5G private networks in a single area, the 5G smart venue here in Hanover. And we have also 800 megahertz in the millimeter wave band, which we can access for private networking, also very exciting. So why do we still talk about this? Because it's a different story when we talk about a slice from a certain amount of spectrum I own, or a spectrum I can slice. If I talk about the left side, I'm talking about a normal road here in Germany, somewhere in the middle of nowhere without street lights and only one lane. I can't pass. I need to wait in line to get access to the medium. I'm just getting the access the network is giving me, and sometimes there is an interruption. But when we talk about the Autobahn, we talk about my own spectrum I can slice. I've got 100 megahertz, and I could maybe say 60 megahertz I take for mission critical applications, ultra reliable, low latency. Whereas 40 megahertz I take for less mission critical application. Maybe data showering of products, putting software on a product I'm producing. Or smartwatches. Smartwatches where I maybe inform my workforce with what needs to happen next. Hey, watch out, this part is running low on your station, you might want to get some new ones before you produce your next product. And this is very, very important. But we still talk about this because we talk about this on a global scale. I mean, it's good that Germany is #1 leading industrial country, having the most innovative factories, I think, which exist at the moment. But what do we do with the rest of the world? Do I have spectrum access there? Can I set up the same private 5G network in Germany, in the Netherlands? Today you can't. So my home country is a little bit behind. Working on that though. So this is the map of the whole world. The light-colored countries in green, there we have spectrum access. Some actually copied the German situation. When we look at Brazil, they just took the German situation and copied it. Pricing is even the same. United States has CBRS. In Scandinavia, we have a country, Norway, almost 400 megahertz has been decided to be used for private networking, 4 times as much as in Germany in C-band. In Australia, we have millimeter wave. In France, they have 3.8 to 4.0 gigahertz, which is a little bit different to Germany. And this is something we need to change, and we need to work all together to get this changed. And we do a lot of this with numerous groups and companies together, because this is the answer to getting mobility and flexible networking in industry. And then typically when we talk about spectrum, everyone thinks about millions, billions of dollars, euros, whatever. But it doesn't have to be that expensive. Because if I would say I pay roughly 50 euros a month for my cell phone contract, my private one, it's just a lot, I know, but I consume a lot as well. So what would you guess a private network for average small medium enterprise site in Germany would cost? About 150,000 square meters. Does it have to be costing more or less? I don't know, but we have the calculation here. So the Bundesnetzagentur and the German government made a decision to make spectrum accessible for everyone. This is a picture of our plant in Karlsruhe. This is where we build our 5G products. This is where we use our 5G products. So which was first, I can tell you. About 150,000 square meters, 5,230 euros for 10 years. And when you talk about agriculture, it's 6 times less expensive. So when we take this 5,230 euros, it's about the same I pay for my personal phone contract, which is one user. Okay, it's all over Germany and part of Europe as well. But here I can do whatever I want. I can point my network to do that what I need for my mission-critical applications. I can use 1,000 devices if I want. I can use 10,000 devices, and I can make sure that it runs every single day. So this is what we need to keep in mind. It needs to be accessible not only for large corporations, but also for small, medium enterprises. Let's talk a little bit about 5G as a technology, because we've been talking about it since, I'd say, late 2018, early 2019. We were here in Hanover at the 5G Arena in April 2019. And we had a giant showcase, I would say, with a 5G network, with specific trial devices on 5G. And it sounds about right, because the standard was ready in December 2018. But having the standard ready in 2018 didn't mean we had products right available. So I had about 10,000 pages of paper I could read about what the standard could potentially do. And truth to be told, that what was in the standard in December 2018, I cannot make a product with all that features yet. So I'll talk about that a bit more in the second presentation today. But we have different releases. So if you look at this today, we have release 17 ready. It's available. Yes, more stuff to read. If you buy a 5G product for industry today, what would you guess? And I want to see hands now. Release 15? Do you think it's release 16 already? Or is it release 17? It's quite clear it's release 15, and I'll show you in the next slide. Once we have a stack of paper ready, we are waiting for chipsets to be developed, supporting the features from that standard. And they typically don't support everything in those 10,000 pages of paper. So then when we get the chipset, we need to create a module from it which is approved globally. Then that module is going to be built into products, and those products are going to be released. So that takes us, and we might not be the fastest company, but it took us until June 2021 to launch our very first completely approved 5G product on the market. And this is the same for release 16, release 17, and going on. So we always have a lag of 2 to 3 years behind the standard. And the exciting features for industry are coming in release 16, and most of them nowadays in release 17. So we still have some time before 5G gets mainstream in industry, and we really can do those mission-critical applications with real time and high reliability. So looking at those products, here we have our first one. Scalian's MUM856-1 in its natural habitat. Our automotive showroom and test center mounted on an AGV without having a need for a cabinet. So this is how 5G looks. It's a cell phone for robots. I mean, just look at the size comparison. It might not be quite fair. This is a bit enlarged, I think. But it's a different device, but it does the same. It actually uses the same chip. But we need to make sure this runs from minus 40 degrees to plus 75 degrees, or minus 20 to plus 60 degrees. How many of you had a cell phone out in the sun this summer on the terrace, and at 30 degrees Celsius you get this yellow sign, I need to turn off because it's too hot for me? one hand at least see a couple people laughing. Imagine this happens in your factory. You have hundreds of devices connected, and all of them think, you know what, it's 35 degrees Celsius, I don't want anymore. That will be devastating. So therefore you need industrial hardware to make sure you can run industrial processes. And this is where we all need to work together to create a 5G ecosystem which is large enough to support every single use case out there. I might have an industrial router, but I don't make 5G connected screwdrivers. But today wireless LAN connected screwdrivers are typical in the automotive industry. So who's going to build those? Do we already have an industrial camera? So an industrial temperature grade, industrial grade camera out there with 5G today? I haven't seen one. It's always regular ones with a box around it, which might need even actual cooling or heating depending on which country you install them in. And this is where we need to work on create a large enough ecosystem. And we shouldn't be talking only about end devices, we also need to talk about an infrastructure. The infrastructures out there today, the fancy ones, are the same ones which cover complete countries. They're scaled down to fit in a factory, but is this the right thing for every single factory, every single enterprise out there? No, I think we as an industry need to address the need for interestingly priced, made for OT, tailor-made for OT, focused on OT 5G networks, and make it as simple that everyone understands this. This needs to be as easy as your Fritzbox at home, or your router at home. And when I look back 2 decades from now, my dad surprised me. He said, Sander, I've bought you Wi-Fi for at home, and I wanted to install it, but I'm on this for a couple hours and it doesn't work. Can you fix it? So it took me 1.5 hours. And my dad said, oh, I wasn't that bad. I mean, you're supposed to be the expert. And I said, yes, let me do something. So a couple of weeks later, I brought home our very first industrial wireless LAN access point. I gave it to him. I said, Dad, I give you 1 hour to set it up. He was finished in 30 minutes. Because we know what we need to do to have OT personnel, OT users understand how to set up difficult IT components to fit into an industrial factory. And this is only something we as OT vendors understand, because we have our own factories, we have our own products, and we want to make sure we can use our own products in our own factories without setting too high boundaries. This is a nice picture showing a 5G core, a radio access network consisting on a central unit, distributed unit, radio unit, and then the end devices. So this is all you need to set up a 5G network, and this can be more as just one. So we're a bit flexible on that. So this is a nice picture. But we also have real devices. So this is coming to the market in 2023. If you have questions about that, come to the Siemens booth there. I will be there all day. And this is something we want to bring to industry and make sure it's accessible for everyone starting in 2023. And with that, we focus on easy handling. We want to make sure it's compact. We don't need housings. We don't need special mounting tools. It's clean. It looks good. It's an industrial design. It really fits into your factory without needing to make choices you might not want to make, because you don't want to limit yourself because you want 5G. You want to make sure you can just fit it in right. It can use your own network. You don't have to make network changes. That's the way we set it up. So no separate network needs on the wired side to run a 5G network. And if you can't wait till 2023, talk to me or to some of the people of the 5G Smart Venue. A couple I've seen already today. Here in Hall 9, we have live an industrial 5G network based on a prototype of ours, where we can let you get a taste of 5G early on. This was opened in the Hanover Fair in June, July this year. So contact us and we can set you up with a test. Bring your AGVs, your screwdrivers, your cameras, whatever you want, and connect them to a 5G network to see how it behaves and what the limitations are. That being said, over to you. Maybe you have some interesting questions.
Yes, thank you very much. Vielen Dank. First of all, I wish you all the best with the building up your own house.
That's going to be a challenge, yes.
And gibt es Fragen? Are there any questions? German, English, even Dutch, if you like. Yeah. Okay. So, So, if you wenn Sie vielleicht ans Mikro gehen, bitte. Go over to the mic.
Maybe it's a Dutch question.
Yeah,
no,
maybe.
No,
then
it's not, sorry. So my question is, how open is your solution regarding the APIs, the interfaces, and the interconnectivity with other components or devices that are not Siemens proprietary hardware?
So we use open standards. So we are not limited to an own ecosystem. So we are welcoming third-party devices, definitely on the end device side. On the RAN side, the core side, we need to have a discussion what is necessary, what is the wishes, but we are open to see what we can do, which brings a benefit to the system. So definitely the first version we don't have APIs just to attach on, but these are things we can work on because we really want to grow this as a full ecosystem on both the RAN side as well as the end device side. But currently we focus on the end device side because I think that is where we have the biggest challenges currently in industrial 5G, the end devices which don't exist yet. But feel free to come over and have a detailed chat later. Thank you.
Okay. Gibt es weitere Fragen? Okay, ansonsten hätten Sie natürlich auch die Gelegenheit, jetzt dann später in der Pause sich Herrn Rotmensen zu schnappen und die eine oder andere Frage zu stellen. Bis hierhin, thank you very much for your presentation. It was very exciting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.